All right, what is going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. So this is going to be the Q&A video where I answer you guys' questions. So basically I posted a post on Instagram where I said comment any questions that you have for me and I'll go through this list and comment. So basically this is going to be a longer video because I got like 250 comments. I'm going to try to go through all the questions. If I see some that are repetitive, I'll just kind of skip over those. Comments that someone's already asked or questions that someone's already asked or that I've already answered, I'll try to kind of gloss over those. But obviously I can't get to all 250 in one video. It'd be 3 hours long, but I will try to get to as many as possible. And that's why I try to do these on Instagram and not on YouTube, because if I made a video and said leave a comment in the comment section below for my Q&A video, number one, I'd get 1,000 comments. Number two, probably 50% of them would be troll accounts. So really when I do it on Instagram, I find that 99.9% of the users on Instagram are not troll accounts, and they're just legitimate people asking legitimate questions. So if you guys want to follow me on Instagram and you can participate in these Q&A things, my Instagram handle is @NicksStrengthPower. And again, there's links to any form of social media in the description box of every video. So every video, I have every single username, I have every possible way that you can contact me. I've got links to all my coupon codes and all that good stuff in the description of every video. So if you want to know my Twitter, my Instagram, my email address, my Facebook page, links to everything is in the description box below. So the first question here is actually from Louis Marco. So Louis Marco asks, what is the most proper low body fat percentage that a natty guy can get down to without jeopardizing his testes, baby please? Now I guess this question was probably asked in the wake of the Dave Palumbo and Boston Lloyd pregnancy protocol debacle. So basically if you're a natural guy and you diet down for a natural bodybuilding show, I would say that overall your testosterone is going to drop because you're so depleted, and I would say that overall no matter what, your sex drive is going to decrease. I think no matter what you do, if you're prepping for a natural bodybuilding show, you're going to see a decrease in your testosterone. I don't think you're actually going to see your testicles shrink or be affected in any way, but I think no matter what, if you're getting down to that level of leanness that you're going to compete in a show, you're definitely going to see a drop. Do you regret cutting so much for your first competition? Yes and no. I regret it because obviously I lost a lot of muscle in the process, and I got a lot smaller, so I've had a lot of rebuilding to do over the past year. But on the other side of the coin, I've also learned a lot from my mistakes. So if I never made those mistakes, I probably would have never learned from them. So there's always a benefit to doing something the wrong way at least one time so you know how to do it correctly the next time. Opinions on SARMs. I think they're trash. Luis Big Hugh asks, who do you think has the best classic physique? Right now, I would say Chris Bumstead. Private Browser AB asks, what things kept you motivated to get to the level you're at now, and what things currently keep you motivated to keep getting better, even when you have those days that you don't want to do anything at all or quit? So really my motivation is really you guys, because really the only thing that I train for and the only thing that I really spend time on is putting a lot of effort into my YouTube channel. I train to maintain a physique, to be relevant, to be on this YouTube channel, and to keep you guys interested. So really the thing that keeps me motivated is to make sure that I keep this channel alive. So any day I don't feel like training, any day I feel like cheating on my diet, I just think about the channel, I think about you guys. Plenty of you guys have sent me emails, messages, DMs, where you guys are talking about your personal diets, your personal struggles, your personal transformations, and that kind of stuff keeps me motivated as well. I've received, just a countless number of messages from you guys that have made these crazy transformations over the years with your natural bodybuilding journeys, and those are some of the things that keep me motivated. Seeing some of you guys that are natural and some of the things that you guys have been able to achieve definitely keeps me motivated at the end of the day. So thank you guys for that. Owen asks, how much Protan is too much? So the picture he commented is a picture of me wearing obviously too much Protan, so I'm sure that was a sarcastic or ironic comment. But I would say the level of Protan that I use for that show was probably too much. I can't even pronounce this guy's username, but he says, can you become a pro in two sports that are very much different, like parkour and bodybuilding, or will you just suck at both? Can I get great results from both sports? Can I get the benefits of being athletic and being able to jump and flip while having a decent physique? I think absolutely you can. Parkour in particular, I believe that involves like a lot of acrobatic type stuff, jumping off walls and doing flips and calisthenic type stuff. So I think you can definitely do that. I think that Juji Mufu guy that bodybuilder that does all the crazy stunts. He's super flexible. He does the splits on the chairs and all that crazy stuff. He does backflips and all that stuff. So I think he's a perfect example of the fact that you can be successful in both a sport like bodybuilding and then something crazy like parkour. So Mark R32180 says, do you have any other hobbies besides bodybuilding? And the answer to that question is yes. I have quite a few hobbies besides bodybuilding. Number one would be photography. I'm super into photography, specifically nature and wildlife photography. I love going out to parks and different areas and doing that. So photography is definitely a big one. I've got a photography Instagram account if you're interested in following that. It's Nick's Strength and Photo. I'm also super into my Corvette, obviously, so the Corvette would definitely be something that I consider to be a hobby. Obviously, I own a hedgehog. I would consider the hedgehog ownership to be a hobby in and of itself because of the time commitment that takes. I also buy and sell Yu-Gi-Oh cards on eBay, so that's one of my hobbies, is collecting and selling Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Flipping them for profit on eBay is one of the things that I enjoy doing. I find that to be a very good way to pass the time. What are good exercises for the penis? Asking for a friend, and that question is from Ireland Cody. So good exercises for the penis would be not to exercise your penis. If there was only one bodybuilder you could bring back from their peak to the current day to compete, who would it be? Hashtag NSP is amazing. I would say any bodybuilder from the past. You got to go with Arnold just to see how Arnold would stack up with the current pros today. I don't think anyone would rather see any bodybuilder besides Arnold test their mettle against these guys today, so I would have to go with Arnold Schwarzenegger. What do you think about GH? Great fan. Honestly, I don't know too much about it. I've never used it myself, so I don't really have an opinion in that regard, having used it. But as it relates to the sport of bodybuilding, I think it's probably a bad thing. I think guys are getting a little bit too big, and as a result of the GH, they started the whole insulin trend, which I think definitely contributed to the overall bubble gut culture that we're seeing with bodybuilding today. So in the regard of whether or not GH has been good for bodybuilding, I would say probably not. Opinions on training frequency versus volume, like bro split versus upper lower split. So personally, I do a bro split style of training. So basically that means you do back and bis, chest and tris, shoulders and legs, and kind of split it up that way versus doing upper lower days. So that's how I do it. That's what's worked best for me. I've tried both methods, and personally the bro split seems to work best for me. How do you get past mental blocks such as depression or anxiety? So I've never had any problems with depression, so that's never been an issue. But anxiety, I have had some issues with anxiety. I've had anxiety attacks, panic attacks, whatever you want to call them. And personally, the way that I got over those was I started researching how to get over anxiety. And once you realize in your mind that anxiety is something that you've created, it's something that you've created inside your own head, it's something that exists only in your head, you realize that you can overcome that inside your own mind. So once you start thinking about how stupid the anxiety itself actually is, how there's no reason for it, how it's not justified, how it's not really, it doesn't really make much sense, you can really conquer it within your own mind once you decide and make that realization that it's just something that you've imagined, really. That's all anxiety really is. If you get nervous about going here, or you get nervous about doing this or that, you just got to realize that this is something you've constructed inside your own mind. It's something that you can deconstruct inside your own mind. So it's really that simple for me. So just do some research. There's a lot of good books, a lot of good articles out there on how to deal with anxiety. What happened to you dipping? I stumbled across your videos years ago where you spoke openly about dipping and bodybuilding. So for those of you who don't know what dipping is essentially chewing tobacco. And I use it on and off. I wouldn't call myself a dipper really. I use it, I go on and off. How far out do you carb up, and what did you eat to carb up on? So when I carbed up, I just carbed up 24 hours before the show. So starting 24 hours out, I was eating rice cakes, and I had like this organic honey. I read that this was a good kind of honey to eat when you're carving up for a show. I don't know the science behind any of that stuff, but I was just eating rice cakes with honey on them was basically the only thing I carved up on. And then between the prejudging and the night show, when I came home in between, I was eating like Reese's peanut butter bars and stuff like that. So for me, I probably didn't carb up the correct way. Again, I'm looking forward to competing again because then I can correct all these things that I probably shouldn't have done last time. Pull out or wrap it up? Neither. Your thoughts on certain supplements, good and bad, and what you find works best for you and what you think could be beneficial for the average person. So personally, I've kind of changed my mind about a lot of things. So I've always had mixed opinions on pre-workouts. They've always helped me work out in the past. They've always helped me get past, not being motivated, not wanting to go to the gym. They've made me excited to go to the gym, and they almost make you addicted to going to the gym. So pre-workouts can be beneficial to a person with very, very low motivation to go to the gym. That being said, however, I think pre-workouts are very, very dangerous. So the amount of caffeine that we consume in a day is already way more than it should be. So you see on the news pretty frequently now kids and other people drinking too many energy drinks, drinking too much coffee, drinking too much soda, and they start having heart problems. They start dying from all this caffeine consumption. And pre-workouts, if you read the label, there's pre-workouts that have 250, 300, 400, even 500 milligrams of caffeine per serving. And the recommended dosage of caffeine per day for the average adult is 400 milligrams. So most people get that just from their morning coffee, and some people are getting more than that just from one scoop of pre-workout. So when you combine all these things together, you got your pre-workout, you've got your coffee, you've got whatever other caffeine you intake throughout the day. A lot of people are getting 1,000 milligrams of caffeine a day easily, and that is super, super unhealthy, especially if you have any kind of underlying heart condition. So myself would be included in that, and that's why I stopped taking any kind of supplement that has any kind of stimulant in it, because I really don't need it. I do drink coffee in the morning, but that's the only caffeine that I intake throughout my day. I no longer intake pre-workout. Nick, does heavy lifting for mass and light lifting for time actually work? I heard this was a myth. I'd say heavy lifting for mass definitely works. I'm not really sure what you mean light lifting for time. I don't know if he's referring to CrossFit or what, but heavy lifting for mass definitely does work. Would you rather have your biceps as big as your quads or your quads as big as your biceps? I think you guys know the answer to that question. I definitely have my biceps as big as my quads. What's your favorite back exercise? Got to go with deadlifts on that. Nick, why the hell does your face remind me of Trump? Like, no joke. Probably because I'm white and I was tan in that picture and you're a little bit racist. Mike Katz was a Jewish bodybuilder. Did him being a Jew help or hinder him? For those about to shoot shit through your dick in rage, it's a joke. Oh, that was Ireland Cody as well, so you already asked the question, so I'm not even going to justify that question with an answer. So Chad _ do you ever find yourself being an ego lifter? And if so, what are some things you do to stop yourself? Honestly, I never really find myself to be an ego lifter anymore now. I don't try to go in the gym and do anything crazy. I've been lifting for 10 years naturally. Maybe in the beginning I would go in the gym and try to lift heavy and do stupid shit and try to show off for my friends. But now I try to really lift smart every single time I go in the gym. I don't do anything crazy that I know I can't handle. I don't do any crazy stuff that I know is gonna push my limits too far. So I pretty much know what I'm doing when I go in the gym, and when I leave, I never feel like I've overdone it. So that's never really been an issue. Do you think Ronnie Coleman would have a chance with today's lineup with his late 90s physique? Absolutely I do. Did you use Dream Tan? No. What got you into bodybuilding? So most of you guys that know the channel very well know that my dad got me into bodybuilding. My dad was a bodybuilder in the 1980s. And really him getting me to start working out is what got me into bodybuilding when I was like 13 or 14. At what age do you think it would be okay to cut? Not necessarily for a competition, but just to be in a caloric deficit for an extended amount of time. Heard it's not okay to cut at a young age because of your central nervous system or something like that. I would say to do a serious diet, I really couldn't imagine there being any reason not to. If you're a kid and you're obese, I couldn't see any reason why you couldn't start cutting your weight down. But I would say to play it safe, I'd say probably like 13 or 14 when you're already a little bit into puberty or past puberty. It just kind of seems like stupid advice to tell someone like that's 8 or 9 to go on a diet and start cutting. But I think if you're really obese and you've got a significant amount of body fat, there would be no reason why you couldn't slowly start to taper that body fat down and quote unquote cut or go on a diet. So I'd say really any reasonable age if you're significantly overweight. How much does Kai's hair weigh? That's a good question. No clue. Top 3 most genetically gifted bodybuilders of all time. I would go with, I'd say Ronnie Coleman. I would say Big Ramy just for his ability to put on size in a quick amount of time. I know a lot of people hate this answer, but I got to go with Phil Heath as well. Phil Heath is just genetically blessed. A lot of people want to say his gut is a problem, his gut makes it look terrible. But the muscle bellies and the roundness and fullness that Phil Heath has is something that you can only get from genetics. I mean, that's just something that you're born with or you're not born with. And Phil Heath was born with it, and he was born with it to a degree where he could win 7 Mr. Olympias. So he arguably has some of the best genetics of all time. If you were to do a workout collaboration video, who would you want to do it with? Let's see, that's a good question as well. I'd say the best one would be to go back in time and do a workout video with Arnold in his prime and put it on YouTube. That would be pretty cool. Have you ever thought about doing in real life collaboration videos with other YouTubers? We would love it, man. So there's definitely a couple guys that I definitely would like to do a collaboration video with. Chris Jones is one of them. I've talked to him a few times on Instagram. And then Cassidy Campbell would be another one. I'm a huge fan of his channel and the prank videos that he does. So probably one of those two guys would be probably one of the first collaborations that I would do. Is strongman the new bodybuilding? Absolutely not. I don't think strongman will ever have the popularity that bodybuilding has. I think I got tennis elbow by doing too much push workout. Did you have something like this before, and how have you dealt with it? Thank you, Nick. So I've never really had tennis elbow. I guess you're thinking of like a tendonitis feeling in your elbow. But really the only issue that I've ever had was my strained rotator cuff. So I did a video on that a while ago on how to kind of fix that. So it's basically shoulder impingement is the only issue that I ever had. So you guys can go back and look at my past videos. It was a pretty successful video. I think back then it got like 30,000 views, and I only had like 5,000 subscribers at that time. So shoulder impingement is really the only issue that I've ever had from a push workout. Highest body fat percentage that you should be bulking up to for a natural bodybuilder, and how far low should you go for natties? So I'd say you should probably cut it off around 20%. I think 20% is getting a little bit too high, but once you go beyond 20%, you're definitely really pushing your luck. So I'd say 20% should be the cutoff for a natural bodybuilder. And how far low should you go? I would say you probably shouldn't go below 6 or 7%. Best way to advertise yourself? Obviously it would be YouTube for me. So currently cutting. I lift in the morning and do cardio after work, just a personal preference. If I miss my morning weights, should I dump the evening cardio and do weights, or just stay with the cardio and just miss a day of weight training? So my advice there would be to dump the evening cardio and just do weights. Raw and Real Fitness asks, how did you start out in YouTube, and how did you start to get noticed, etc.? So I started out just posting workout videos. That's all I posted, nothing crazy. I started out watching guys like Nick Wright, Matt Ogus, the early days of the Hodge twins and Mark Lobliner. That's kind of started posting the same type, and I kind of just started posting the same type of stuff that they were posting back in the day. And really that didn't get me a whole lot of subscribers. I probably got up to like 10,000 subscribers just doing the workout videos and stuff. And then I moved on to doing other things. And once I started talking about bodybuilding history and telling these old bodybuilding stories, that's when my channel really started to take off. So once I got consistent with it and I started posting that type of content, that's when I started to get noticed, is the fact that I was posting every single day and I was posting these unique stories and stuff that other people hadn't posted yet. That's when I really started to get noticed. Would you ever do powerlifting? Obviously, if you guys know my channel, you know that I've done powerlifting in the past. Best WWE physique of the 80s, one of the 90s, and one of the 2000s. I would go with Hulk Hogan from the 80s, Scott Steiner from the 90s. I would say Batista from the 2000s, just real quick. This guy said blacks or whites. What motivated you to get into bodybuilding and cover it on YouTube and other forms of social media? I started making videos about it, and I realized there was a high demand for bodybuilding information. So I realized the audience for bodybuilding was a lot bigger than the supply of bodybuilding information. There's only a couple channels doing bodybuilding information videos, and I realized there was a need to fill this kind of gap. So I wanted to make my own channel and start talking about it myself to offer people another outlet where they could hear about bodybuilding. So obviously you guys can see the views on my videos, you see the number of subscribers that I have. So obviously there's a massive online interest in bodybuilding and hearing about bodybuilding. So I felt like there was a gap that needed to be filled. So I filled that gap, and that's how I got started. If you're 30 pounds overweight, would you recommend doing keto and then bulking? If you're 30 pounds overweight, I would recommend just doing keto, and I would not recommend the bulking until you've gotten down to a lean amount of body weight, kind of maintain that for a while. Have you ever chewed tobacco before? And also, do you like Realtree? So yes, I have chewed tobacco, and yes, I like Realtree as well. What's your favorite kind of dip? My favorite kind of dip is the Welfare Bear, Grizzly Wintergreen. So Jay Riley 63 asks, working out every day, same part a couple of days straight, is that overtraining? So I'd say working out every day is not overtraining. Training the same body part more than one day in a row would definitely be overtraining. So no to the first part, yes to the second part. What do you think about Randy Orton's physique and his drug use in the past? He is by far one of the most impressive physiques in all of pro wrestling. So I definitely do think Randy Orton has a great physique. The drug use doesn't really matter because look at how many guys in the WWE are obviously on steroids. I mean, there's no question that probably 50% of that roster is using drugs. So I don't knock Randy Orton at all for using drugs in the WWE. How old were you, or how old are you, and how old were you when you started bodybuilding? So I'm 24 now. I started training when I was 13, but I didn't really start training seriously until I was like 16 or 17. I didn't really know much about a bodybuilding split until then. How is your heart problem? My heart problem is better. I haven't really had any issues with it. I haven't had any palpitations, any real chest pain, so I've been good with that. Will you ever stop bodybuilding? In terms of competing, probably. In terms of training, probably not. Are you from Kentucky? Yes. Would you ever compete, or do you have plans to compete in another strength or muscle sport like powerlifting, strongman, or Olympic lifting? So yes, I have competed in powerlifting. I've thought about competing in strongman because there is an under 200 category in some strongman competitions, so you don't have to be, a big crazy guy to compete in strongman. I think that would be a fun thing to do just at the amateur level, just to compete in a strongman competition, flipping tires, doing deadlifts, log lifts, all that good stuff. Why do natural bodybuilding shows have competitors that you can tell aren't natty? Because they know how to pass a drug test. What's your diet like, and what do you do for clean mass without doing too much cardio and depleting the muscle's ability to grow naturally? So I do a ketogenic style diet, keep my protein very high, keep my fats moderately high, and keep my carbs very, very low when I'm cutting. What's your curling weight, and what do you do for triceps? So my best strict curl ever, and that is a strict curl, was a body weight strict curl, 165 pound curl at 165 pounds body weight. What do I do for triceps? Probably my favorite tricep exercise is a rope push down, and my second favorite would be the behind the neck dumbbell extensions. Video on Craig Goliath, maybe in the future. That seems to be more Louis Marco's thing, so I'm not really gonna get too much into Craig Goliath, but he is an impressive guy. He's an impressive physique. He's definitely one of the bigger bodybuilders on social media today. Cali Muscle plus Nick Strength and Power collaboration possibility as well? Nah, probably not. Does Nick's Strength and Power plan on doing any mainstream collaborations with other bodybuilders or YouTube channels? I definitely consider that a possibility for the future. One of the things that I really taken pride on in my YouTube channel is not doing collaborations, and the reason being is there's some channels that completely built their channel only on collaborating. So collaborate with this guy, get some of his followers, collaborate with this guy, get some of his followers. So my goal was to build this channel as big as I could build it without doing any other collaborations or doing anything with any other YouTubers really. So I got up to about, I think before I went to Real Ways for Real Heroes, I got up to about 150,000 subscribers without doing any sort of collaboration. I wouldn't really consider that a collaboration because I just kind of filmed the event. I didn't really do a video with Lowblind, or I didn't do a video with Chris Jones. I didn't do a video with Teron Beckham or any of the other guys that were there. But that was kind of the first thing that I did that other YouTubers were involved. So I think I got up to 150,000 up until that point. So 150,000 with no collaborations is something I was very proud of. And ever since then, I haven't really done any collaborations either. I do kind of go to the expos at these bodybuilding shows like the Olympia or the Arnold, and I film them, but I still don't do collaborations where I say, hey, put me on your channel, post a video of me here, post a video of me here. I'm trying to build my channel as big as it can get without doing collaborations. So that is the main goal with my channel. But I would like to do more collaborations. I'm not opposed to it. But if the person is right and the collaboration is right, I would definitely be open to doing more collaborations. Also, will Hedge hit the front double bicep pose anytime soon? Hedge only flexes when Hedge wants to flex. What do you listen to in the gym? So that's a good question. It actually varies from day to day. So sometimes it's rap, Particularly, I'll just put on Pandora, and whichever Pandora station I'm in the mood for that day is what I'll listen to. So typically, I'll go with Gucci Mane's Pandora, and that's my favorite rap Pandora. Sometimes I'll go with like some old late 90s, early 2000s rock and roll. So for that, I'll go to the Paramore Pandora station. That's got some great throwback songs on there that you'll remember from like middle school or even before then if you're my age. So that was that's a good station for me. Sometimes I like country if it's not like a hardcore day where I'm trying to train super heavy and super intense. I'll listen to country music because it's a little slower paced. Some days I'll listen to like heavy metal, a little bit of like Linkin Park, some Motorhead, Metallica, some of that kind of stuff. Obviously, Motorhead. Will a Nick's Strength and podcast ever feature Louis Marco? I would love to do a video with Louis Marco. I'd love to do an interview. I'd love to have him on a podcast. I would definitely like to work with Louis Marco in some capacity in the future. That would be something I'm definitely very, very interested in. I talk to Louis Marco from time to time on Instagram, direct message. He's a very nice guy. He's a very interesting guy. I'd definitely be interested in working together with him. Obviously, we were both on the same team of Redcon 1. We both promote those same supplements. Nick, if you take steroids at a younger age, does it appear on a future drug test? For example, if you take steroids from 18 to 20, and then you do a drug test that show at the age of 25, will that show up on your drug test? Probably not. If you're clean for 5 years, it's probably not going to show up on your drug test. What is your opinion on steroids in sports? Do you think steroids will ever disappear from the sports? I think in a sport where everybody is using, it's not unfair for somebody to take steroids. I do not think steroids will ever disappear from sports completely. Was your growth linear or did it come in quick bunches over the years? So if you're talking about my YouTube channel, it was definitely not linear. So I started my YouTube channel in 2012. So from 2012 to maybe 2015-ish, the growth was very, very slow, and I went from like 1,000 subscribers to 5,000 over that 5-year span. Then the next 2 years, 2015 to 2017, well, let's say 2015 to 2016, I went from 5,000 to close to 15,000. So the growth started to pick up a little bit there for that year there. So 2016 to 2017 was obviously the biggest year of growth for me. So I think I had 15,000 subscribers at the beginning of 2016. And now here we are halfway through 2017. I now have 215,000 subscribers. So I've gained 200,000 subscribers this year. And this year was obviously the biggest amount of growth. I had some months where I had 45,000 subscribers in 1 month. So 1 month gain, 30 days, 45,000 subscribers. So that is a ridiculous amount of subscribers. Some days were like 3,000 subscribers a day. So there were definitely some big growth spurts, and there's been some slow periods. It's definitely a lot of ups and downs with YouTube growth. Always love when Nick shows love to his fans and responds to everybody. Do you think natural bodybuilding is a joke? I wouldn't call it a joke. I would say that for a lot of people, you spend all this time putting on muscle naturally and you diet incorrectly, you diet too hard, and you end up losing most of that muscle, which was the case for me. So I think for a lot of people, natural bodybuilding is counterintuitive. I almost wouldn't even call it bodybuilding. I would call it like a dieting competition, because really you've built your body up, and then to compete in natural bodybuilding, you got to tear your body down to this crazy lean level that you shouldn't even be at. But I do think for some people it's fun. Some people get fulfillment from it. It's enjoyable for some people. And it is kind of enjoyable to compete. It's enjoyable to diet down. It's enjoyable to watch your body transform. But to a certain point, you get to a point of diminishing returns, and you really start to tear down your physique. So in some cases, it could be considered a joke. If you just build up this crazy physique, tear it down, and you have nothing left, which basically is what I did, that could be considered a joke. Why do you prefer natural over steroids? So really, again, I don't have anything against people that take steroids. I don't think there's anything really wrong with it morally. From a health standpoint, I think you're going to live a much longer life if you don't take steroids. That's just basically my opinion. That's my viewpoint. So I'm going to stay natural and not take steroids, just from the standpoint of longevity and a longer life. What is your advice on making time for training while working, studying in college, and trying to keep up with a personal life? So I would say it's important to make time for training, but I would say don't let training overtake your life. Don't make training your number one priority. So never have training come before your girlfriend, come before your family, come before, you know, studying for a test. Training is not that important. If you're not a pro bodybuilder and you're in college, you've got a real job, you've got a relationship, you should put all of those things before training. So a lot of people aren't gonna like that advice. So a lot of people are like bodybuilding purists. Make sure you go to the gym, make sure you put training above everything. Training is the highest priority. But if you're not a pro bodybuilder, you're just doing this casually, you enjoy lifting, you enjoy competing, you compete in local shows and stuff like that, or you don't compete at all, I'd say don't make training your highest priority. Make it like second, third, fourth, whatever. Never put it above your girlfriend, never put it above your family, never put it above something important like a job or a college education. So that would be my advice for you guys when prioritizing training or making time for training. What are your main goals to accomplish before you give up the sport of bodybuilding or powerlifting? So really, there's no goals in terms of titles or anything like that. I never expect to turn pro. I never expect to be like a national level NPC competitor. But I would like to compete more often. I'd like to really just better myself, better my body. And once I think I've reached a point where I can't improve my body anymore naturally, I'll probably stop competing. Because really, that's the whole point for me, is to build my body up, cut back down, and be bigger the next time I cut back down. So to put on muscle, put on lean size. So once I see that stop happening and I see myself stop growing, that is probably when I'm going to stop competing in bodybuilding. And then one of my other goals would be competing in powerlifting and then other kinds of sports. I heard that CT Fletcher now has an annual strict curl competition. I did not know about it this past year, so I didn't jump in it, but I will jump in this next year. If he still does this competition, I'd love to compete in a strict curl competition. I think it's called the ISCA annual something rather. So I'm going to try to jump in that. That's definitely something I'd like to compete in before I stop competing in the strict curl. What's your goal for 2018? To do at least one classic physique show. What got you into bodybuilding? My dad. So that's actually more or less all of the questions. So thank you guys for commenting your questions. Again, if you want to participate in the next Q&A, follow me on Instagram at Nick Strength and Power. I'll put a link in the description as always. So basically what I'll do is I'll post a picture, I'll say comment your questions, then I'll read those questions in a video. So thank you guys for watching the video. Again, if you want to support the channel in any way, shape, or form, check out the description box below. I have all my affiliate links, all my coupon codes, all the products that I'm affiliated with, Redcon One, the Smart Scales, all my social media links, my email address, how to get in touch with me. All that stuff is in the description of every single video. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this Q&A. Please give it a thumbs up if you want to see more Q&As. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.